Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to take a bench tour. I've been inspired recently by other YouTube folks, namely Nigel Saunders and also Bonsai Northwest and CM Bonsai just this morning, seeing their bench tours. And I'm super excited to show you mine. Now you can see the chair here. Every morning I come out here and I have a cup of coffee and inspect the trees and give anyone water that needs it or take care of any problems I happen to notice. But it's a nice ritual. So we'll start out here on the left. You can see my desert rose. I was deeply inspired by Nigel's Socotra Island video. You should definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. And I got one of these and I love it. I keep it quite healthy, but it has yet to flower for me. Maybe it's in too small of a pot. I don't know. It's got a nice trunk. You can see I've got a Lilliput here, kind of in a mountain scene, which I like. There's a large jade, which I'm just letting it grow out here. You can see I kind of cut it down to one segment, very short. It's got a big trunk, and I've just let it go. And here's a jade that I haven't given up on it yet, but I haven't had a lot of luck with a ripple jade. But we'll see. It looks better now than I've ever seen it, so that's exciting. And here's a little variegated, and here's sort of a cascade variegated portulacaria. This one had a rough spring, but it's growing quite well now. It looks like it's beefing out, so be pruning that soon. Here's another jade, Golem jade. Just recently pruned this back. It's still recovering, but you can see it's starting to grow again. I took it way back. It was just too tall. And here's my, one of my trays of succulents. You can see this tiny little thumb pot, it really makes the leaves grow quite small and constrains the size of the plant. And here's a little Crosby jade. And, I'm always impressed with how these tiny pots really limit the size. This one is in a video I had some time ago about what to do with your misfit bonsai pots. It's really growing quite well. I'm just going to let it go and probably prune that back here in another couple of weeks, maybe a month. This is another variegated I have. You can see it's got a nice base on it. And these are in a group of variegated. I'll do a series of videos on it soon. I got a bunch of these. I got a great deal on them. And this is the healthiest because I kept it inside all last winter. It just kept growing. And here's my mame tray. Basically, I just have so much fun with this. Here's my little semi-cascade, my little dragon. It looks like he's swimming in the soil. And I just love these tiny cork bark. So this is a cork bark here, and I get these from cuttings from my cork bark dwarf jades, and I put them in these tiny pots, and they do really well. And I really like these mame trays. So I recommend that if you've got a desire working on these. Here's a Manny in a little tiny tall pot. And I just pruned all these so they're nice and trimmed up. I've got an Aria here. You can see you get nice, very compact yellow growth on those, and just a charming little plant. So yeah, I definitely recommend growing some of these tiny portulacaria afras. They're charming. A couple more in the back. And here is another one of my cork barks. It's got some nice corking on it. I just did a lot of pruning on that. Here's another Golem jade I cut way back in a recent video. You can see, look at that, just beautiful. This is exactly kind of what I'm looking for. Lots of new branches and new options. And, I think this will work out really, really well. It's almost a picture-perfect result of what I was looking for there, so that's good. You can see fall is maybe starting to come on here. Some of my lilac there is getting a little sad looking. Here's another little jade that is putting out new shoots and, getting nice and compact. Just looks great. Here's another port I've had for quite a while. It's got this long section in it. I've never really been happy with the styling on this, so I'll do something that at some point. Here's a couple of nice ports I had. I recently had these in much smaller pots, and I put them in these nice pots. It's kind of like a pairing. I love the yellow and the green, and they've just really taken off, really robust growth. And so I'm just letting them stretch their legs. I want to grow these trees out to be a little bit bigger. And I believe they're both cork bark, although I don't completely have the parentage on that one down. And yeah, here's another cork bark I have. Oh, no, here's my river jade. So, you know, nice dark green foliage. And look at the roots on this. I just really like the exposed roots. Here, I'll show you in the back. Actually, I think this tree looks better from the back, but just one of my favorite small trees. I just really like the roots and the style of that tree. It's quite charming. Here we have my rainbow jade, Mediopicta. It used to be just 3 sticks in a pot, but it's getting some branching now, and I think it looks quite nice. I really like that one as well. Here is what I call my oak tree cork bark, and I just recently pruned that. You can see it's putting out a lot of new growth, and I think that will come out really nicely. Here's one of my larger. Now this is a cork bark that hasn't really done much corking yet, although this, you can look at the trunk here, and I see it's definitely changing in texture, so I think maybe it's starting. Now, I don't know if it takes a year or two. You can see this branch there where I pulled the branches down. That branch looks a little different as well, so we'll see what happens there. This is an aria, Portucaria aria, so it gets golden. I just pruned it back pretty hard, but you can see it has a nice base on it. And, you know, this thing just grows like a weed, and you can look at the branches here. So I'm going to have to sort of simplify this at some point, but I'll probably do that maybe in the winter or a bit later. But yeah, it's growing great. And here is my Golem Jade Forest, which this was a cutting from last winter, and it's just growing like a weed. It's actually done quite well and is putting on a lot of strong growth now. I call this one my Island in the Sun dwarf jade. It's a variegated, and it's taking on a nice shape now. I love the blue pot, and I can probably take the wire off. It's actually getting some surface roots now, and, you know, just a charming little tree. I quite enjoy that one. And beside that, I have another little dwarf jade. I think this is an offspring. It was the top of my the river jade I showed you a little bit ago, but yeah, it's growing quite well. Looks great. Here's another variegated. I'm going to put it in this little pot eventually, so it's there to remind me. And here's a mani. There's a video I did on this one not too long ago, but I put this in this group planting, and it has just taken off. I mean, almost from day one, it just put on this huge growth. Here's another one that also has just taken off, and yeah, like normally I consider them to be slower growing, but they've just really grown legs. Here's my Crassula ovata forest planting. I heavily pruned this one not too long ago. You can see it's responded well. I'm getting some nice compact growth, and I can't wait to get a nice dense foliage pads and work on that some more, for sure. Show you my benches here too. They're just a simple design, just concrete block. I spray paint black, and then 3 boards, you know, something that's weatherproof across. And, you know, I just stack them up. It's great. I can add another shelf. I can change the height. I can put one on the back if I want. Just super, super flexible. So I've really been really happy with this. And, you know, I had these before. This is my second round of doing bonsai, and I find these last a good 15 years before you have to replace the wood. Here's a jade of my wife's out here. Here's another one of those variegated. I got heavy pruning on this recently, so it's just really kind of right out of the workshop, and there'll be a number of those that we'll see here. Here's a little dwarf jade multi-pack. You can see I have several varieties in here, so it's kind of nice to see the differences, right? So this is Manny here, so you can see, you know, it has a much different color. You've sort of got some white striations in these kind of clamshell-shaped leaves. This is your standard port, so nice green. I've got a variegated here, which again, a little smaller, slower growing, looks totally different, but it's kind of nice to see those. And actually, let me show you this Manny here. Get this to focus. You know, you can really see these leaves just have a charming shape. They're a little bigger than your standard port, and they kind of turn this color. You can see the white stripes in some of them here off to the side. As you fertilize it heavily in summer, which I do, they kind of get much more green, and then the white comes back in the fall. Here we go. Here's my Hobbit Jade forest. Did a video on this not too long ago when I planted this. It's growing great. Like, everything is really starting to take off now, which I like to see, so I'll just let it go. And here is another little Lilliput in my lava rock pot. Here is a windswept standard port that I'm working on, and here's another one of the variegated that I've mentioned. Did a lot of heavy pruning on this. There'll be a series of videos coming up soon where I feature this and its siblings. I really like this one. It has sort of a dancer shape to me, so I kind of like that. Yeah. And next up we have rainbow dwarf jade. I mean, look at this pink and the color. I just love this. And this is a forest that's kind of gone out of control, but it almost looks like flowers in there. Really nice. And and here's Mable. You've heard her many times on my videos. Now you get to see her. She is a sweet little thing. So here we have coming up a few more of my, these are more of my variegated that I heavily pruned back, which will be coming up soon. And, you know, some of them turned out great. Some of them are going to take a little longer to become something. This is just some stock here. Here's another one of those variegated I have. This is in a pot that I fixed. And here's another one of my larger ports. Let me try to get my camera to focus here. Yeah, I think the sun's kind of wreaking a bit of havoc with it, but I'll get it in here. So, come on. Huh. There we go. So yeah, this one has a really nice trunk on it, and I pruned it back heavily, and there's a video on this as well, and I think this will be a really charming tree when it sort of recovers from all that. I'm very, very excited to see where it goes. Here's a little forest I had, kind of a disaster. I think I had 7 in here. This is all that's left, so you'd lose a tree here and there. Here's another one of the variegated that I've mentioned, and I really like this one. I kind of like the pot. It sort of has a nice shape as it is. I think maybe this is the front, or maybe I think it looked better before, but I think eventually I'm going to take this top off because I really like the shape of this base and this branch off to the right. So I'll probably do that maybe next summer. And here is a forest, which I heavily pruned recently. You can see it's going gangbusters again and really growing out quite strongly. Similarly, here's a variegated forest that I had. I don't know, I think at the video I've released on that already, but if not, it'll be coming soon. Sometimes you get backed up in the summer, but look at this nice pink growth. It's just beautiful on these when you get new growth in this particular variety. And here's another one that's a little smaller, just a grouping. And a recent jade, got a nice fat trunk. Similar to the jade I showed at the beginning, this is I tried a different strategy on that. And here is just some stock I'm growing out with some escape roots as an experiment, which is going quite well, actually. These are really just going gangbusters. So I'll show you my growing area as well here. Sometimes, you know, I get cuttings that I like, and I just kind of stick them in this large flower pot. I've got, you know, Portulacaria afra. I've got all different kinds of succulents in here. I got some cork barks that are really getting big, and I mean, these things just grow like crazy when you put them in here. And then usually I then kind of harvest them in the fall and prune them back and put them in pots, so before I take them inside and put them under lights. I've got another one over here, which is primarily it's just a mix of different things. You know, you see I got a little cedar here, again inspired by Nigel Saunders. I have 2 large cedar trees here, and these things just sprout up all over the place, so I figured I'm going to try to do something with one of them. And, you know, here's a Crassula ovata. Got to do a little weeding here. You know, Gollum jade and tetragona, and, you know, I've got just all kinds of stuff in here. And like I said, I usually just let it go. Here's some of my wife's plants. This is another large jade I cut back in a recent video. You can see it's recovering and putting out new growth, so I'll just let it flourish probably for another 6 months. Here's a large forest I made. These are all just cuttings that I just chopped up, cuttings, no leaves, stuck them in soil here. not that long ago, and boy, it's really taken off. I mean, some of the younger cuttings, you know, they kind of take off more quickly, and then, but you know, nothing has died. Even the older ones that had a lot of character in the bark are also now sprouting leaves. So you know, I'll just let this grow, and you know, put it in my chiller area this winter, and I think by, you know, next spring we'll just have a mass of stuff to deal with. So hello, Mable. She loves to sunbathe out here in the Serengeti. I want to show you one of my most important pieces of bonsai equipment. We'll have to take a little trip across the yard here, but I find this to be absolutely essential, especially after you know, a nice day of pruning on a hot summer day, and that is my hammock. I know Dave's Bonsai. I also see him using a hammock, and it is essential equipment when you're bonsaiing as far as I'm concerned. And here comes my little sidekick. I just get in here, and I'll tell you, she loves nothing more than taking a little bonsai nap with me in this hammock. And you can see I've got a nice view. I've got this beautiful Japanese maple here, which probably could use some pruning. I can see my patio and then my bench in the distance out there. And I mean, I just love summer here in the Pacific Northwest. It really is just fabulous. And you know, I've got my stalwart companion here. And I think that brings my tour to an end. And Mable and I want to thank you for spending time with us. And we look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. And don't forget, all these videos are in various playlists on my channel, so you can click there and have a look. And see you next time.